You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And this is episode 36, Castlevania Oddities.
I am a very large Castlevania fan.
Nobody would ever say that about you.
Never, ever.
In a parallel universe.
Absolutely. And so, since it is that time of the year, I figured, why not do Castlevania music? But this episode is different than all other Castlevania episodes that you've heard on other podcasts. No, instead of diving into the handheld stuff, instead of diving into the console stuff, we are diving into the weird, wacky world of Castlevania music.
Yep. The rules for this one were no mainstream console releases. We wanted to just stick to side stories, spin-offs, arcade games, stuff like that. No pachinko games, because what?
Yeah, I mean, the pachinko games did have really good soundtracks, but, no.
Were they original soundtracks, though?
They were really... I think they were mostly remixes.
That's what I would expect.
And that's what this episode is mostly going to be. You'll have maybe one or two original tracks, and then the rest of it's going to be all remixes.
Yep. You're going to hear some familiar stuff, just not in the way that you're used to hearing it.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and crack open my garlic water.
We gotta stay protected.
Gotta stay protected. We batted down the hatches. We have locked all the doors. We ain't letting any vampires in tonight. It's just Justin and I hanging out, listening and discussing some really awesome Castlevania remixes.
It's funny that Mike doesn't think I'm a vampire.
I mean, I did invite you into my home.
That's true.
Yeah.
A long time ago, though.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. That is the episode.
Yep. We're done. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
No, so this track that we just came in on was from Castlevania Judgment, which came out in the Wii in 2009. The track was called Darkness of Fear, and it was directed by Hideki Sakamoto, and the track was by Yasushi Asada.
Yeah, Yasushi Asada is the main composer on this one.
And brother to Carne Asada.
Okay.
No.
Wait, what?
Carne Asada. It's the Mexican food thing.
Oh.
Cut that. Absolutely cut that.
Definitely not cutting that. So, Yasushi Asada started with Tales of the Abyss in 2005 as the sound designer. Mostly did like support or did like onesie-twosie tracks, like randomly. Did some sound assistance on Yakuza 3. Castlevania Judgment, I think, was their big blowout as far as composing, and then they started working with Nintendo and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate last year, Knights of the Azure 2, Bride of the New Moon for Tecmo back in 2017. They were composer on that one.
Cool.
Yeah, mostly like a really heavy guitar-driven guy. That's what he predominantly is known for in Japan.
That comes through in this track, I think.
For sure.
The musical director on this was Hideki Sakamoto, as I said. They started doing music in 1998 with Juggernaut. They did background music in Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume in 2008, and I did music in Tokaiden Kiwami in 2015, and most recently did music in 428 Shibuya Scramble in 2018.
Ooh, they also did the music and sound effects for John Romero's Daikatana on the Game Boy on the Game Boy Color, not the N64 and PC version.
Interesting.
So, yeah, pretty wacky there. That game's that game's really good. The Game Boy Color version?
The Game Boy Color, but I mean in general Daikatana
like top-down Zelda. It's really hard to find nowadays.
Nice.
Yeah. Only came out in Europe. But you can actually get it for free on John Romero's website, I believe. He was like, yo, everyone should play this, go.
Nice.
So anyways, back to the topic on hand. Castlevania Judgment is a side story game for the main series. It is a fighting game. I reviewed this one a couple years ago on my channel on YouTube, and it is, in my opinion, a flawed but fun fan servicey game.
I actually agreed with a lot of the stuff in your review. There was a few points that I would have argued with you if I could remember them, but I'd have to watch it again. But overall, I agree. I enjoyed the game for the most part. I don't know if I ever completed it, but it was one of the few fighters that I enjoyed on the Wii.
Yeah, it was different. I mean, the biggest problem that I had with it was the camera and the controls. The controls themselves weren't bad when you got used to them. It was more, if you started attacking, there was no way to stop attacking.
Yep.
And that's crucial in a fighter. So that was my biggest hang-up about it. But this track, what do you think of this track as an opening, not only for us, but also this is the opening track of the game itself?
I thought it was fairly fun. I mean, the guitars and the harpsichord and like the play between the different like drastically different instruments, I thought was really cool. Like it, you establish that Castlevania feel in there with the harpsichord playing the kind of Baroque style music, and then it almost reminded me of Guilty Gear.
Oh, okay.
The guitars, they're not quite the same as by any means, but just sort of the same like rock style. It gave me sort of a Guilty Gear feeling. So combining the fighting games there.
They're going less for heavy metal and more for like symphonic metals, like symphonic.
Sure.
The guitars got a pretty good chug on them. They got that chug-a-tug, chug-a-tug, tug, chug-a-tug, tug, almost like a galloping bass in a way, but with a guitar, which is really cool. But in particular, I really, really adore those strings. Those da-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
It's really great melody that just kind of builds. And then you've got those very like Mishra Yamane moments that were clearly an inspiration for this track.
Right.
So I was really enjoying this. This is probably my favorite song, like original song on Castlevania Judgment's soundtrack. There's some other stuff here and there throughout the soundtrack that's really good. The song when you're going through the menus is really good, and then like as soon as you hit start, you get this organ. It just sounds like somebody slammed on all the keys of the organ, and you get like a voiceover from somebody announcing the game in like one of the cast members. So if you have it in like English, it'll be like Alucard being all emo and being like Castlevania Judgment or whatever. You just hear that organ go bang, like on all the keys. It just really like drives home the point that this is like a game that was made by people who love Castlevania, but also for fans of Castlevania. So lots of crazy fan service in this game, both involving digital giblets and without. You know, a lot of like throwback moments where you get like characters that are kind of facing off for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And you've got your Simons versus your Trevors, your Shinoas versus your Syphas. So they really do a great job of kind of mixing and matching all these characters. The biggest problem that the game had was the visual style, because it was all done by the guy who did Death Note, the anime.
That's right, yep.
So a lot of the characters just look like they're ripped right out of Death Note.
Yeah, the main character on the cover art looks like a recolor of Yagami Light. So
right.
That's yeah.
Which Death Note is a great anime, by the way, for the record. Okay, let me
I agree up until a point, and
up
you know
until
what I'm saying.
that point. But yeah, Castlevania Judgment, go check it out. There's tons and tons of music. We may even get to a track later, so
Perhaps.
So what do you got first for us on this wonderful adventure?
All right, so I'm going to start us out loud and hard with a game called Poppin' Music 15 Adventure.
There we go.
Yeah, this was an arcade game, came out in 2007. It is a music rhythm game, and the track that we're going to play is called Akumajo Dracula Medley, hybrid version, and it was composed by the Konami Kukeha Club and Michiru Yamane. Welcome back. Put your glow stick whips away. That was Akumajo Dracula Medley hybrid version from Poppin' Music 15 Adventure, which was an arcade game that came out in 2007. And the track was composed by the Konami Kukeha Club and Michiru Yamane.
That was good stuff.
I know, that's why I picked it.
Good job, Justin.
It was an interesting find. As we said, the theme was to try and find non-mainline Castlevania stuff,
Sure.
or Castlevania stuff that's come up in other games. And at first, I hadn't even thought of rhythm games or anything like that.
Yeah.
It took a while. I was looking all over for weird ports and whatnot, and then I remembered there is a Gradius track in DDR, which is a game that I used to be a fan of. Still am. I just don't have the body for it anymore.
Not few of us do.
Yeah. But so I remember that, and I was like, I wonder if there's Castlevania music in any rhythm games. And of course, there's a ton.
Yes,
so
there is.
We'll get to some more of that later. But this particular track is a combination of Vampire Killer, which, you know, from every Castlevania ever, as well as Divine Bloodline, also known as Blood Relations from Rondo of Blood.
Okay.
And then Lament of Innocence from Lament of Innocence.
Right,
which might also be known as Leon's theme.
Yeah. I really love how this flows, though, and how the transitions work really well together. A few episodes ago, we talked about transitions on the Super Thrash Brothers episode.
Yes.
And we talked about, you know, when you have a track that flows really, like, excellently, then you'll barely notice the change until it's, like, halfway into the song, and then you're like, oh,
this is a different song.
Different song. And that's exactly what they did here with this pop music track. So, good stuff. Yeah, I like also the different types of music. You've got a little bit of disco in there.
Yeah.
You've got, of course, that classical music vibe with those like harpsichord kind of melodies. And then they also kind of threw in that backbeat too, with that like sprinkly kind of synth that was like, you know, like a rising and falling action. So I was really enjoying this entire track. It was a pleasure to listen to, like, from start to finish.
Yeah. These types of rhythm games, pop music and whatnot, are not games that I am particularly good at. Like, they're not the dancing rhythm games. They're the ones where you have like 12 buttons and you have to hit the buttons and spin the dial in the right order. And
those
stuff.
are tough.
Those are like kind of like the Beatmania games.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they're cool. They have a lot of great music, but man, my hand-eye coordination not made for that. It's made for a controller.
No. See, now if you were really a vampire, you would be able to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think. I assume that vampires have really good rhythm.
They can do anything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about everything.
I didn't say everything. I just said anything.
You said anything. Well, isn't anything also everything?
I don't know. That's a conversation for another time.
If you can do anything, then you can also do everything. So I'm gonna say yes. I think I just broke Justin's brain.
All
right.
We'll circle back to this another time.
So we're going to talk about Mishuru Mane later. Konami Kukeiha Club, they're basically multiple different members of Konami's like sound team. Kind of like SST for Sega or Zuntata for Taito. Yep. You know, all those different types. So too many to name.
Too many musicians.
Yeah. Too many musicians. Anyways, let's get into my first pick, which is Castlevania the arcade game. And this came out in the arcades in 2009.
It took them that long to put a Castlevania arcade game?
Well, there's also Haunted Castle, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was mostly a joke.
I have a lot of gripes with this game, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the track we're going to be listening to is Walking on the Edge. It's arranged by Go Fujiwara and Masayuki Maruyama. And the original track is from Castlevania 1. It's by Kinuya Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Miyazawa. have returned to Castlevania Oddities.
Ah, vampire, kill it.
That was Castlevania the Arcade. This came out in arcades in 2009, and it's a track called Walking on the Edge. That's the original name as well. It was arranged by Go Fujiwara and Masayuki Maruyama, and the original track was by Kinyu Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maizawa.
So I have to say,
yeah,
I'm familiar with a lot of the music from the Castlevania games, but not Walking on the Edge.
Really?
I don't know the song by name.
Okay.
So I was listening to it as we were going through and trying to figure out, what track is this? Is this a track that was renamed to Walking on the Edge, or is that the actual original name? And it wasn't until almost the end of the loop that I actually recognized it. I was like, oh,
that
okay,
song.
got it. I was too focused on everything else that was going on. This song was super bombastic.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the piece that got me the most was the piano. Like you've got the do 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 do.
Yeah.
And
Dark
it's doubled.
Piano.
Yeah, well, and it's doubled by the strings and all this other stuff, but considering the orchestra that you can clearly hear in this piece, to hear the piano that clearly and that deep was almost hair-raising.
Yeah. No, it's a very haunting track.
I love it.
It's great. It's really crunchy. This is like really dingy and dirty. I mean, it perfectly fits because the song itself is from like a swamp level from the first Castlevania. Yep. So it kind of makes sense that this song is very kind of grungy and dingy sounding. It's kind of muddy. It's not clear. It's not kind of bright and cheery like some other songs on the soundtrack, or a little bit like Vampire or Vampire Killer.
Yeah,
like da 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 da. It's very bouncy and kind of happy-go-lucky in a way. I mean, as happy-go-lucky as Castlevania music could be, but it's always been kind of a dingy, dirty track, and so this remix, you never really hear this song get the remix treatment that often. So when I heard this, it just kind of stood out to me. I was like, I'm going to pick this.
That's fair. I know. I really, really enjoyed this one. Thank you for picking it.
You are welcome. So, do you know anything about Castlevania the Arcade?
No. I never saw this game in the arcades because I don't think I was hitting arcades much in 2009.
Well, there's a reason why you didn't see it in the arcades. It only came out in Japan. Yeah, and very minimal units were made. So, this is one of those dream items that I would love to have in my Castlevania collection, but it will most likely never, ever, ever, ever happen.
Is that the problem you have with this game? Or?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yes and no. So, when they were making Castlevania Judgment, Koji Igarashi, who at the time was the Castlevania producer, he was asked by Gaming Press, well, you're coming out with this game exclusively to the Wii, but it's a fighting game. Why aren't you coming out with like a traditional action game? Like, why are you doing something totally different? And his reasoning was because he feels that gamers would be getting too tired if they had to constantly like be whipping something with like a plastic,
with a Wiimote or whatever.
With a Wiimote.
Yeah.
And then he goes and makes an arcade game where you're literally doing that. That is exactly what you're doing in this game. You're going around, you play as two characters, either Vampire Hunter or Lady Gunner, and you're going through the game as one of the two. You have this giant Wiimote looking thing. It has like a glowing, it's like a wand, and the top is like glowing.
Like
and
the PlayStation Move controllers?
Kind of, yeah, but you use it in a whipping fashion to whip enemies. and that's pretty much it.
I would say in his defense, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but the way that I see it is you're putting an arcade game like that out, people are going to be playing it for short stints. Like you generally make arcade games like quarter eaters.
Sure.
You're going to play it for a while. Even if you keep putting quarters into it to get through the game, it's an arcade game and they're going to be a little bit shorter. You make a home console game, like an adventure game, you're throwing hours into that. And if you're just sitting there for hours, eventually you're going to get tired. And you could just save. I don't agree with him because I think you have a save feature built into the game. When your arm starts getting tired, you switch arms or you save the game and come back another time.
That, or you release this as a budget title for $20.
Oh.
And release it on the Wii and make it a budget, like a physical release, but make it a budget title and come out with it. And I don't know why they didn't do it. There was certainly a market for it. I mean, look at stuff like Wii Sports.
Yeah.
That's literally just the entire game, just waggling, So
waggling,
waggling. So I think I just want to get my waggle on, the Castlevania style.
I think we just need a new hashtag. It's going to be hashtag Castlevania the Arcade on the Switch by 2020 or bust.com.
/waggle.
Hashtag waggle.
Hashtag waggle.
Hashtag/waggle hashtag.
So there's a couple units for this arcade game that are like notable in the U.S.
Oh.
One is in Galloping Ghost Arcade, that's in Brookfield, Illinois, and then there's another one in Littleton, Colorado, which is Round One Arcade.
Oh, nice.
So
we need to get our local museum arcade a copy of this somehow.
Yeah, Fun Spot.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, Fun Spot. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot their name for a hot second.
Yeah, Fun Spot would be dope if they got that, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But yeah, and then other than that, there's one in Spain in a place called Arcade Planet, and then there's another one that's notable in the Chiba Prefecture area of Round 1 Stadium, Ario Kashiwa in Japan. It's on the 3rd floor. So, if you happen to be at the Round 1 Stadium in the Chiba Prefecture
that's actually surprising.
Of Japan.
I'm surprised that it's not in Akihabara, which is the famous everything.
It's a big machine. Like, nowadays when you go to arcades, you'll see that arcade machines are totally different than they used to be. Like, nowadays, they're not, like, one single cabinet. Nowadays, it's like a ginormous, like, boat-type thing. Like, those Time Crisis cabinets, or that Rambo game that you see at, like, Dave & Buster's, the big, like, giant Rambo game, Terminator. Like, they usually have those big, giant arcade machines. This one is very similar. It's got, like, flag window type thing, almost like a draw curtain that you can, like, pull back and go into. So it's like one
like
of
the
those
Luigi's Mansion arcade game?
Kind of, I guess. It's like a curtain that you can peel back.
Yeah.
So you go behind the curtain, and that's where you have the giant, arcade machine, and it's got like a huge screen and everything. So I've seen pictures of it. I've seen gameplay footage of it. It looks really fun. It's just redonkulously expensive if you were to buy one. So yeah, sad face. But anyways, I don't have any information on Go Fujiwara. I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything. But Masayuki Maruyama started off with Shaolin in 1999, and then followed up with games like Slap Happy Rhythm Busters in 2000, Demolish Fist.
Demolish?
Demolish? Yeah, I don't know why, but it looked like it's a Demolish Fist. Because I saw it's
Demolicious.
Because I was trying to get it to rhyme with Demolish Fist.
That's fair.
2004 did Ninja Gaiden, the sound design on the remake.
Is it the Xbox one?
Yeah, the Xbox one. Okay. So not a remake, it's the new series, reboot or whatever. Silent Hill the Arcade in 2007. Ghost Squad, which was the Sega machine, arcade machine that also made it to the Wii in 2007. And then Aquapazza Aqua Plus Dream Match in 2013 they did the sound effects for. Yeah, the original composers, Kinyo Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maizawa. Again, we can talk about them a little later because we're going to be playing another track by them. Yeah.
So let's jump into my next pick.
What do you got?
We are going to hear from another arcade game. This is Haunted Castle, which I think we just brought up during the last break. This came out in the arcade in 1988 and then was ported to the PS2 in 2006 and then the PS4 in 2018. The title of the track is either Beats of the Clock Tower or Basement Melodies. We're unsure because we're finding different sources listing different names, but I do know either way it was Stage 5. And this is composed by Kenichi Matsubara, Masahiro Ikuriko, and T. Welcome back. That was actually Basement Melodies, Stage 5. That was from Haunted Castle, the arcade game that came out in 1988 on the PS2 in 2006 and the PS4 in 2018, and was composed by Kenichi Matsubara, Masahiro Ikariko, and T.
We have no idea who T is, for the record.
Yeah.
It's not T's music, because that was formed in, what was it?
1990.
Got it.
So, and this was 2 years before that.
Yes.
So that was my initial thought, was T, maybe it was T's music. That's not the case.
Yeah.
So we are unsure, so we do not actually have any musical credits for T.
Tony?
Maybe it's Mr. T.
Tony the vampire?
He didn't want the credit. He was.
Oh, that's true.
He pities the fools that don't know.
Don't put Mr.
Just put T. They'll know.
They'll know my musical skills. I pity the fool who doesn't know my musical skills.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, just to clarify, before the break, I mentioned that it was either Basement Melodies or Beats of the Clock Tower. And after looking some things up on Konami Game Music Collection Volume 1, a soundtrack that was actually released, it was called Basement Melodies, and it was also featured in Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow as a track called Basement Melody.
Ah,
so
okay then.
Things
yeah, but all that
out.
information's boring, man. What do you think about the music?
What music? I'm deaf. No. So I actually really like it. For something that came out of an arcade cabinet in 1988, I thought it was really well put together. And it was funny because when I picked the track, partly because it sounded familiar and I couldn't figure out why. And then just now I learned about Dawn of Sorrow, which is a game that I played many, many times. So that's probably why it sounded familiar to me. But no, I like how the lead instrument kind of sounds like a synth harpsichord, except a harpsichord doesn't sustain like that.
Yeah, a little bit like the Genesis sound chip, or I'm pretty sure that this is like a Yamaha-based chip. I just don't know which one.
Now that you mention it, it does sound like it has a similar sound quality.
Oh, it was the Yamaha YM3812. That's what it was, which is an IBM PC-based one. You find them in like computers and stuff like that, but a lot of like arcade games use them. So, yeah, that was the chip.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
What did you think of it?
I really dig this track. It's interesting because I'm so used to hearing other tracks from this soundtrack that when this song played, I was like, wait, what? I haven't gotten very far in this game. Have you played Haunted Castle?
It's ridiculously difficult.
Bonkers hard. Even on the easy setting.
This is a real, what do we call them?
Quarter muncher?
Quarter muncher? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I have it on the PS4 because I've never played it in any other way. So I recently got it, like, as of last year on the PS4. And, yeah, it's really difficult. But it's pretty good. There's an opening cutscene which is really super goofy where like it looks like it's taking place in the middle of the day, but it's not. It's like nighttime. Right. It's just a color like scheme. It's really wacky. It starts off with Simon kind of leaving the church with his lady love, whoever that may be, and she ends up getting stolen by Dracula. Dracula kind of comes down from the sky, takes her, yoink. She's gone, and then he goes after her in traditional barbarian loincloth and blue hair. I don't know.
As you do.
Yeah. I don't know. Simon changes his hair color nonstop, from brown to blue to red.
I mean, I went through a phase back when I was in high school and college. I did the same thing.
Did you?
Can't blame him.
Did you wear like barbarian clothes to school?
No, I wore goth clothes.
Goth clothes. Well, actually, Castlevania Chronicles, which was the re-release of the Sharp X68000 version, he does kind of wear like a goth version of barbarian clothes.
All right.
So, there you go.
Just like what, like black skin pelts or
weird
fur pelts?
S&M. Yeah, like fur on the top, like black fur, and then like black leather straps that are going like down like his legs. I don't know. It's like a weird S&M thing that Ayumi Kojima worked out. So
neat.
But anyways, this song is great. It's I don't really have much to say about it specifically. I just really enjoyed listening to it. I dig the lead synth for sure, and I really also like the part where it's like
yeah.
Kenichi Matsubara does a really great job of like a lot of like call and answer kind of stuff, where like he'll do like and then like he'll have like a melody right after that that'll like answer it like that's like a little bit more cheery. So he does like a lot of like like a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it works out really well in this song when you hear it. So, yeah, it's good stuff. Kenichi Matsubara, of course, was the composer that worked on Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2, which is my personal favorite.
That is correct. Also on YY World 2 SOS, Parsley Joe in 1991. They did sound design. They did music on Poppin' Twinbee, Rainbow Bell Adventures in 1994. And the last game...
Is it Parsley Joe or Parsley Joe?
No, it would be Joe if there was an E at the end. The O with the line over it. The line means extend the sound of this vowel. So
okay.
Joe.
Huh. Interesting. Anyways, the last game.
Yeah, sorry, that actually was the last game. The other things are the I Want to Be the Guy, I Want to Be the Boshi, and Bobo's Big Adventure. All
which is all...
Yes.
Right, yeah. Not official stuff.
1994, last game, music, composition. And then we have Masahiro Ikariko, started doing music composition on Snatcher in 1988. Dentata Twinbee in 91 did sound design, did music on Police Knots in 1996. And that appears to be their last music composition. I'll drop down one 1994, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. They did sound effects and music.
One other side note, I just realized that this was also released on the Arcade Hits Anniversary Collection, which just came out this past April. So it's also on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
I was just going to say, it's on the Switch, so
yeah.
You can play the hardest game ever. This was the start of the whole Castlevania thing, right? Like, this was the beginning of... It wasn't called Castlevania, but
Right,
came out of this.
No, Castlevania came out first.
It did?
Yeah, and then they made Haunted Castle as kind of like a separate
that's so
thing.
weird.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided...
1986, you're right. Never mind.
I don't know why they decided to call it Haunted Castle. I think it was just like a marketing thing where they were like, well, we can't call it Akamajo, Dracula, because that's what Castlevania is called in Japan. It's called Akamajo, which stands for Demon's Castle Dracula.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So they instead decided to call it Haunted Castle. No clue.
Great.
No idea.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it looks like we are getting a call, but it's on a special phone. It's on the Cam Lerma Patreon hotline phone. I specifically designed this phone knowing that we'd probably get a call from him since we're doing a Castlevania episode, because I know he's a big Castlevania guy.
Fair enough. So you created a phone that you can only ever use in tonight's episode?
Yes.
Okay.
Janine, forward that over. Well, Cam, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. So I wanted to request the MS-DOS version of Vampire Killer for two reasons. One, because it's god-awful and terrible and hilarious, but also because I wanted to give some representation to the kids that maybe only had the Tandy computer or something growing up and couldn't play the NES versions of some of those games. I had games like Mega Man and Double Dragon and some other things, and they were really, really, really bad. I've not played Castlevania. I did have it on the NES, thankfully. I'd say enjoy this track, but you probably won't. Hopefully, at least you get a good conversation and maybe a good chuckle out of it. Thanks, guys.
Why do you hate us, Cam?
Yeah, thanks, Cam.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, you know what? I'm gonna put some positive spin on this, because what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna play not only the IBM PC version of this song, but also the IBM ad-lib version, and this is Vampire Killer, which is on Castlevania soundtrack. Again, came out for DOS in 1990, and this was arranged by Chris Hadalid, and it was originally composed by Kinyo Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maezawa. Alright, that was the MS-DOS version of Castlevania, and now we're going to listen to the MS-DOS ad-lib Sound Blaster or sound card version of the same song, Vampire Killer. Hey, you're back, and that was Vampire Killer, which was featured on the DOS or MS-DOS version of Castlevania that came out in 1990. That was both the IBM PC version for the initial version that we played, and then after that was the ad-lib version. We'll explain all that in just a moment. The arrangement on this track was done by Chris Hadlid, and that was originally by Kinyo Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maezawa. So what'd you think of these two songs?
Oh my god, don't ever play that first one again. Ever. I will inflict physical harm if I have to listen to that again.
You'll stab like Cam with a stake.
I mean,
like an actual.
You're a lot closer. So
that's true.
And you made me listen to.
That's true. You'll stab me. But now, would you stab me with a stake, meaning like an oak stake, or would you stab me with like a T-bone steak?
Depends on which one would hurt more. I feel like trying to stab you with a T-bone steak would be the optimal way to go because there's no way it would ever be comfortable. At least with a steak, it would hurt and you'd die.
It depends. If it's frozen, then okay. But if it's just the bone of the steak, yeah.
Oh no, it's the entire. It's all floppy and stuff.
Oh,
it's gonna be
so
really
loose.
weird and painful.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that would be weird. I don't know how you would actually puncture skin with that, but okay.
I mean, I'd find a way. I'd be that mad. I'd find a way.
You'd be that mad.
But the ad-lib version, I thought was a lot better. So
like miles better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like in comparison, it's one of the best things I've heard tonight because I had to listen to the other thing.
Yeah.
But no, I understand why Cam asked us to play this because it's an interesting arrangement for one. I mean, either way you look at that first one, like it didn't sound great, but considering what they were doing with that sound driver, it was probably really good. And I feel bad that I'm just completely blasting it.
Well, yes and no. So I think that the arranger did as best as they could, but the track in its essence is a much more complex track that you're working with that's on superior hardware, like the NES by far and large as far as musically at least.
Right. I mean, it's not like we're comparing the NES to the like a Famicom version with extra sound channels or anything. What was it, like the Famicom? Was the
Disc system?
Yeah. So and even then, like there's a difference, but it's not as wide as that gap.
Oh, sure.
The ad-lib sound driver definitely allowed for better processing of the sound, more sort of channels. Like it felt more complete and it felt more pleasing.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of gave me like a little bit of a FM synth vibe.
Yeah.
Very Genesis-y.
Yeah, we're getting a bit of that tonight.
yeah, for sure. Now, AdLib, just to kind of clue you in, it's a sound card manufacturer created by AdLib Inc. And so this is kind of like Sound Blaster a little bit, but I'd say a little bit more old school. This started in 1987. Then there was another version that came out in 92 called the AdLib Gold 1000. But specifically what these did was they were cards that improved the audio sound. This can be, of course, recreated nowadays with emulators like stuff like AdPlug and VDM sound. But the interesting thing about this card is that it does use the Yamaha YM3812 sound chip. So the reason why it sounds Genesis-y is because...
Again, that Yamaha sound chip.
Exactly. I mean, this chip was used in tons of different stuff, even the Sound Blaster 16 as well. So there's a reason why it sounds better than what you may be used to hearing on PCs from like this, the 80s back then. I mean, you also got to look at like the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, like Commodore 64, like all of those European computers were doing like amazing things with sound. And then when you look at stuff like this, it seems like such a step backwards. But then when you hear the ad-lib version, you're like, whoa, actually this sounds really good. So yeah,
I mean, it's the difference between like an all-in-one PC console experience versus a parted out, make it yourself, add stuff and change it up.
For sure. So, not really much to say about the game. It's a really bad port of the first Castlevania.
Yeah.
I figure we can dedicate more time to talk a little bit about the composers. So, Chris Hadelid or Hatelid, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but better known as Christian with a J, like Christian Hadelid, I believe is how you pronounce the name, Hadelid. They've been composing for a long time, starting in 88 with Power at Sea, and then followed it up with Grand Prix Circuit the same year. Hardball 2 in 1989, Wings of Fury in 1990. Again, I'm jumping around here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 90, Super Contra in 1990, Metal Gear in 1990, Altered Beast in 1990. So they are responsible for doing all these like MS-DOS ports of these really famous games over to the PC. Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge in 91, Mickey's ABC's A Day at the Fair in 92, World Tour Tennis in 93, NFL 94 in 93. Their final game, Michael Jordan in Flight, came out in 1993. So pretty much like just did PC stuff and then kind of, stopped doing it. So the original composers, Kinyo Yamashita, she has been with Konami since 86, where she started with Vampire Killer. She's the primary composer on this soundtrack, so the Castlevania sound is thanks to her. Primarily. Followed it up with games like King Kong 2 Ikari no Megaton Punch in 86. Arumana no Kiseki, which was a Famicom Disk System game. They were not credited on that. It's kind of like an Indiana Jones type game. Really good music on that. Power Blade 1 and 2 on the NES. Pocky and Rocky 2. They jumped over to Natsume at this point, like in the mid-90s. They were doing stuff like Ghost Sweeper Makame, Joreshi wa Nice Body, which love that. Love that game. And soundtrack. Mega Man X3, they did the music for that. Casper in 97, which I believe was the Super NES version. And Croc 2 on the Game Boy Color, which I think they also shared credits with Ikumizutani. Finally, their last game that they composed for, as far as I know, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Wrath of the Darkhold King, which is a Game Boy Advance game. Really cool game, and that came out in 2003.
So Satoe Terashima started doing music in Vampire Killer in 1986 as well. Went on to do music in a number of other Konami games, like The Goonies in 1986. They did music composition and an arrangement. They were uncredited for that. Russian Attack in 1987. Life Force in 1987. The Goonies 2 in 1987. Again, music composition arrangement uncredited. And that was the last active music composition credit that they have here.
And to clarify, they did Castlevania and Vampire Killer, which is pretty much the same game. Vampire Killer is the MSX version.
That's right.
And that came out, I believe, first, and then the Castlevania NES game came out, I think, after that? I'm not sure. They came out in the same year. So.
Yeah, that looks to be the release order.
Yeah.
So, no,
it's one or the other. Either they came, one or the other. So, and then Hidenori Maezawa is a longtime composer with Konami. Started off with Crackout in 86. Followed it up with Castlevania. I've read up on Hidenori Maezawa's participation in this soundtrack. Kind of minimal. He's on there because he did work on it, but he didn't do nearly as much as the two ladies, Satoe and Kinyo. Then followed it up with Life Force in 87, Nightmare 2, The Maze of Gallius in 87, which was an MSX and an NES game. Then did Hinotori with, I believe, Ikumizutani. Hinotori Hohen, I think it's called. That's a really cool game. And then Getsu Fumaden, which is kind of like a samurai version of Zelda, a little bit, sort of. Followed up with doing sound on games like Contra, Adventures of Bayou Billy, Top Gun: The Second Mission, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which they were uncredited as the music programmer, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, they did the sound on that one. They also typically did sound design or sound programming. So the sound on the VRC6 chip on the Castlevania 3 soundtrack, Akamaju Densetsu,
yeah.
he did the sound chip on that. He also did sound design on Surprise Attack, Super Contra, Zezex, which is not Zexies.
No, Zezex. Yep.
Yeah, Datana Twinbee in 91. And then went on to do some producing roles like stuff on Twinbee RPG, Mitsumete Night in 1998. And that is their second to last credit. Their final credit is on Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars in 2010.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we've got a little treat for you. This is a mobile game. This came out only on mobile in 2007. And the track is called Daring Assault. This is the Roland mix, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. It's by Vincent Diamante, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after we listen to this tune. Thanks for joining us back on XVGM Radio. That was Castlevania Order of Shadows that came out exclusively for mobile platforms back in 2007. So, you know, like flip phones. That was Daring Assault. That's the Roland mix, and it's by Vincent Diamante. So I actually reached out to Vincent to try to get this song.
Right.
Because there were some versions on YouTube, but I wanted to just like reach out to him because he seemed kind of approachable. And he was actually super nice. Not that I doubted that he wouldn't be, but like he not only gave me the track, but also answered questions that I had about the game. So we did a little mini Q&A, so I figured I'd share it with you guys.
Yeah.
I asked, how did this project, Order of Shadows, come about, and how did you get involved? And he said, I had worked with some of these devs earlier on a few games prior to them becoming Konami Mobile, back when they were called Blue Label Games. They brought me along for the ride, and I worked on various Konami Mobile titles at the time. Most of them were more or less straight ports, but then there was this Castlevania game. The developers had their homegrown, cross-platform mobile tech at the time, and they wanted some more reasons to keep on pushing it, so they pushed the powers that be to allow them to make something a little more original.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll go more into detail about the rest of the interview in just a second, but what this game is essentially a game created for the Java platform. So if you had like a flip phone or one of those like sideways flip phones.
Oh yeah.
It was designed for phones like that. I had this game. I actually downloaded it on my old LG Envy. or LG NV2.
Yeah.
So the job that I had at the time allowed me the opportunity to get this game. So I downloaded it on the phone that I had at the time, and I'm kicking myself now. I wish I kept it. I wish I kept the phone because it had the game on it, and of course, good luck trying to get this game nowadays. It's not available. So there's no real way to play it, unfortunately, but it's a platform game. It does have a little bit of like RPG type of like characteristics. There's stuff like hit points and magic points and stuff like that. You can level up and whatnot. You play as a character named Desmond Belmont. None of this is canon, for the record. This is not in the timeline at all. But what's cool is you could swap out existing soundtrack songs with songs from the original first game too, which is kind of nice. I don't know how that would work. I should have asked him at the time, but I just realized that was a thing. But the plot of this game is Desmond and his two sisters, Zoe and Dolores, they're searching through Dracula's castle, going through it specifically to find a cult that is trying to resurrect him, which is called the Order. So it takes place in 17th century, like the late 17th century. Obviously a side story. It's not part of the regular timeline. And so he is a Belmont. So it's kind of neat that they made this like original story.
Yeah. Does he use a whip?
Yeah. Uses a vampire killer.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That is pretty much it. The game is, it's not great. It's not bad. It's just kind of super mediocre, in my opinion.
Super mediocre.
Super mediocre. It's not. It does not stand out. There is no motivation to continue playing once you've played for maybe 5-10 minutes. You're like, okay, it's Castlevania.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to finish it. Another reason why is because controls on a mobile phone are brutal.
There's only a few games that I've ever played really well on the mobile phone for me, and that's like Snake, Pac-Man, games where you only have to push directional buttons. I remember getting like emulated games or some things that were sort of like action platformer games on my NV3 and other phones like that. Yeah. And they just, like, I never played them for more than a short period because I got frustrated because the controls were awful. I
gotta say, though, Konami was really pushing the envelope. And developers like, this development house that Vincent was working for, they were really pushing the envelope for what a mobile game could be, and really trying to put more of a focus on making games that play and feel like actual, like, regular games, like, traditional action adventure type games, not like the more like arcadey games like Snake and Pac-Man and stuff like that.
So. No, that's good, because I remember a lot. The main problem that I had with a lot of those games that you could download back then is that either you had like a flip phone and you just had that regular keyboard, or not keyboard, you had the number pad and you're limited in how you can play with that. Or you had one of the ones where like things slid out and you had like a full keyboard.
Right.
And
you had to like use like the WSAD or whatever.
Yeah, and it didn't work out all that well because everything's so tiny and it's in an awkward place and it's not made like if they had thought about where the buttons were and were like, okay, use these buttons so you're holding it more like a controller, I think it would have worked a lot better.
Yeah.
But like I said, unless it was just a direct go in a direction or run around game, it didn't work out all that well.
I also downloaded the Metal Gear game that they made for it. They made like a Metal Gear Solid game, and apparently I think it was like Kojima sponsored. Like,
really?
Yeah, I think Hideo Kojima like at least was like, yeah, do whatever, That was really visually stunning. Like it looked like Metal Gear Solid VR missions.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was more like a very simplistic looking Metal Gear Solid, but like it was really cool. I remember having like fond memories of like trying to play it in between like breaks at work. So
nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. But that's why I say Konami kind of pushed the envelope. But anyways, why don't you read the next question?
The next thing that we asked was, did Konami give a specific sound direction to go off of? And Vincent says, not really. I basically said that I wanted to treat this seriously as a new platform, and if I was looking to the past, it was at things like Super Castlevania 4 and other parts of the Konami library for inspiration, rather than just targeting a Castlevania sound. They were basically okay with what I was making as long as it hit the music tech limits. It was something ridiculous like under 3K or under 5K for each SP MIDI track. I don't remember exactly anymore.
Yeah, that's super tiny limitations
that
we're working with for the music. So this version is an arranged version of the original song. Unfortunately, I don't even think the original exists at all. I asked him about it. I don't think he had it or could find it or whatever. He just kind of answered the email like, it's not, like, I I don't know where it is. Like, I can't find it right now.
Yeah.
So then we also followed up and asked him, do you know of any preservation on the developer's end to keep this game working on non-mobile formats? For example, Steam, or maybe release it as a free like browser game or whatever online. He said, nope, all the people that I knew on this project are no longer at Konami, and I think this was an era of gaming just before the iPhone that a lot of people would prefer to forget. I don't blame them too much.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that pretty much nails it. So
I almost kind of wish that there was some kind of preservation around this, because then, you know, the fans would ultimately take it and turn it into something that's ultimately better and more playable.
Sure.
More functional. Like I've seen that happen before, where it's like, oh, this mobile game and it sucked, and then people take it and like, okay, well, let's take this thing and redo it with proper controls.
Yeah, with like a keyboard setup, like a full keyboard setup,
or you know, like a gamepad input.
Yeah.
Or you know, make the graphics better for, you know, proper TV stuff.
That'd
like that.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So, you know, we want to thank Vincent anyways for answering our questions. That was really nice of him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So what do you think of the track?
The main thing that I was hearing throughout the song was sort of that whole rhythm section, that dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And like the melody was there, but I feel like it wasn't quite fully the star, and that may be because that's how it was written, or that may just be because I was so distracted by other things going on in this track. I really like what they were doing with the rhythm section, because there was more than just like the one thing there. It felt like there was sort of like a bit of depth and some things going on. Yeah,
for sure. Especially later on in the track, you get that bass line. It almost sounds like something on like a Michael Jackson Thriller, like or like Survivor, like Eye of the Tiger.
Yep.
And while that kind of like chuggy thing is going on, you've also got a melody that's kind of developing that's very, I would say, like Mishra Yamane inspired.
You're talking about like the piano-y type of,
Yep. It's very that that whole part in the middle of the track is very like, it just sounds like Castlevania. So I know he was trying to go for maybe something older like Super Castlevania 4, but I really think this song stands out as one of the best on this soundtrack. Specifically because it does sound like something that you would hear in a Castlevania song. So I do think he nailed that.
Fair.
Yeah. As far as Vincent goes, he started off in 2005 with a game called Cloud, and then followed it up with Robo Blitz in 2006. He did composition on Flower.
Oh, I'm familiar with that. That's from that game company.
Yeah, he also did Skullgirls, but as audio production. And then, because that was Mishra Yamane that did Skullgirls, and then Walden, a game, and that was the prototype music that he did for that.
Oh, nice.
In 2017.
So next up, I have a track from a game called YY World 2 SOS Parsley Castle. This was a Famicom game that came out in 1991. The track is called Bloody Tears, and it was composed by Yuichi Sakakura, Kenichi Matsubara, and Satoko Minami.
Honey, can you come here for a second? I just can't get this vacuum together. Ugh, it's hopeless.
What's wrong, Snuggle Buns?
Don't you snuggle buns me. I told you 100 times to get a new vacuum, and you never did. This thing is such a pain.
But Love Monkey, I did, and a whole lot more. Check out the new Vampire Killer.
Yes, that's right. The new...
Who are you? And what do you want? Take our best bags of money. Just don't hurt us.
Actually, I'm here to tell you about the new Vampire Killer Whip. Forged from the ashes out of that silly old vampire killer, the new Vampire Killer whips ghouls, ghosts, and goblins better than ever before. Use it on the most frightening of foes. Got a Frankenstein's monster problem? Whip it good. Got a Dracula infestation? Whip it good. Vampire bats in the belfry?
Let me guess. Whip it good.
You got it, but hold on. I know what you're thinking. What else can the whip do? Well, cleans windows, vacuums carpets with special vacuum attachment at an additional cost, makes sandwiches, wash your cat, relinquish the souls of the damned, repair an air mattress, book a trip to Utah, help your kids with homework, and our personal favorite, bedroom stimulator for those after-hour adventures.
That last one's my favorite. Right, Sugar Biscuit?
Not in your wildest dreams, but nice try. Just go buy a proper vacuum and get rid of your friend. He's creepy.
Oh, wow. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. Thanks, new Vampire Killer.
New Vampire Killer comes with all you see here. Adult adapters and vacuum attachments sold separately. To be used genuinely with only interocitor parts. Not for sale in any of the Salt Lake City surrounding area of 500 miles or more. Call 1-800-WHIP-IT today. Welcome back from that track. That was YY World 2 SOS Parsley Castle, a Famicom game from 1991. The track was called Bloody Tears and was composed by Yuichi Sakakura, Kenichi Matsubara, and Satoko Minami.
I love this game, and I love this version of Bloody Tears.
Yeah, no, I like this version a lot too. It adds some things that you don't really get in like the NES or like the actual Castlevania series, like a lot of those sort of like high-pitched, the higher-pitched beep sounds.
Yeah, I would say there's a little bit more note bending.
Yep.
Right before the track loops, the dan, it's like ramping up kind of, and it's got that like note bending that's really cool. So I was really digging that. It kind of makes the song stand out a little bit more and kind of makes your ears perk up. But I would say this is a lot like happier sounding.
Yeah,
it doesn't use as much of a minor tone as the original, I would say.
I think it's still, I believe it's still in the same key, or at least in the same tonal key.
Okay.
But they kind of balance it out with some of the more higher pitched notes, and they keep it feeling, by making it feel bright with some of the higher pitches, it kind of feels less minor, like you said.
Right. Yeah, those synths are so much brighter sounding on the Famicom than on the NES. I think in the NES version, they made it much more serious sounding, much more intense, and much more staccato. Whereas here, it flows a lot better.
Yeah, the notes flow together a lot better.
Yeah.
They're a lot smoother.
Yeah. And that's partly because this is like, I don't want to say a parody game. It's not, but like,
no.
Konami was really good back in the day Konami was really good back in the day, period. But Konami was really good back in the day about making sure they were honoring their franchises. Like they were really rock solid about being like, all right, we've got all these cool characters, we're gonna make them all in our various different games, and then we're gonna combine them into games called YY.
Yeah.
And so they have like YY Racing, which is actually Konami Crazy Racers, which we've talked about on the show before, and Konami YY World 1, as well as this game, Konami YY World 2. Yeah.
So have you played this one?
I have. I own it. Yeah.
Oh,
I have
wow.
it on the
That's
Famicom.
really cool.
Yeah.
I would like to play this one. It looks like a lot of fun.
It's super fun.
So for those who aren't familiar with the YY World series, this game, it starts with you picking one of 4 character groups, each of them consisting of 3 different Konami characters. A lot of the levels are spoofs of different levels from other Konami games, but the main protagonist is a character named Rickle, who is a robot created by a guy named Dr. Cinnamon, and Rickle can transform into different characters that are basically other Konami heroes,
right?
Like Simon, for instance, from Castlevania.
Yeah, but there's like puzzle levels, shooter levels, there's driving levels, all different levels, but the main chunk of gameplay is like the platforming levels.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the final level, or the final world of the game is inspired by the Castlevania series, and there's a lot of areas that are similar to Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse.
Right. Yeah, you can play as Simon, and he has his whip and everything. You can transform into these characters once you get like a specific power-up. Goemon from the Ganbare Goemon games. You can play as Fuma from Getsu Fumiden, which we just talked about a while ago. You can play as Bill Reiser from Contra.
Yes.
Yep. So, pretty neat. The game's villain, like the main bad guy in this, his name is Warumon. And he kidnapped a princess named Princess Herb. Her name in Japan is Habu Hime.
Yeah.
Hime meaning princess.
Princess, yeah.
Right.
Habu Hime.
But Dr. Cinnamon created Rickle to stop bad things from happening. So that's YY World 2 composers on this one. So Kenichi Matsubara, we already talked about.
Yep. Yuichi Sakakura started out doing sound creation in Gyrus in 1988. Basically stuck with Konami for their whole career. A lot of the stuff is sound design and sound director. So for YY World 2, they are credited under sound design. That was, as we said, 1991. Crypt Killer, 1995, sound effects. And most recently in 2004, Beatmania 2DX 7 style sound data analyzer.
Right.
So Satoko Minami started out doing sound on Ganbare Goemon Gaiden, Kieta Ogan Kiseru in 1990, and then did Akumajo's special Boku Dracula in 1990 as well.
Kid Dracula, yeah.
Right. YY World 2 in 91, Tiny Toon Adventures in 91, and The Lone Ranger in 91. They did sound design, and that was their last game listed.
You got it. Cool. All right, so let's move into my next pick, which is Castlevania Harmony of Despair. This came out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in 2011. This track is called Ruined Castle Corridor. The original is by Mishra Yamane, Takashi Yoshida, and Sashiro Hokai. It has been arranged by so many people on this.
We'll go through that after.
We'll go through that after the break. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was Castlevania Harmony of Despair. That came out on the PlayStation 3 and 360 on 2011. That track was Ruined Castle Corridor, originally by Mishra Yamane, Takashi Yoshida, and Sashiro Hokai. It was arranged by, get this, huge list coming up, Tomoaki Hirono, Norikazu Miura, Atsushi Sato, Nobuyuki Akina, Yasuhisa Ito, Sota Fujimori, Yasuhiro Ichihashi, and Toshihisa Furusawa. Wow. Huge list.
Yeah.
All musicians.
That's crazy.
All the arranging musicians on this one. So
On this game.
On this game, yeah, specifically. This track originally came out on Aria of Sorrow.
Right.
Which came out in the Game Boy Advance. So what do you think of this version of that song?
So similar to the intro track, but different that we came in on, where there was the classical elements and those were more forward and sort of the rock was more in the background. This is totally flipped. Like I could hear strings and some orchestral things going on here, but this was very clearly, like what I said after the intro, comparing things to Guilty Gear, I take it all back and I put it in this comment here. This is way, way more of what I thought I was feeling.
More heavy metal, less Baroque influence.
Yes, absolutely.
You could say. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think their big focus on this one was, hey, you're going to be listening to this music while going through all these like crazy levels in this game. It's a very action-packed game, which is more focused on time and more focused on a specific goal. So this game it's a really interesting game. So I downloaded the demo for this one and checked it out, and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. I have been wanting to play it, but my thing is I wanted to download all the DLC.
It was a lot of fun. We focused, everything that we ever did was always focused on the multiplayer, and as you're talking about it, I remembered, it totally is time-based, because it was get to the boss of the level as quickly as you can,
right.
Like try to tear through stuff.
Yep.
But it's crazy. Like you can pick from a number of different characters. There's not a whole lot of like weapon swapping. I'm pretty sure you can play as Alucard from Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember what his weapon is. It's probably just the Alucard.
I know Soma Cruz is in it. I know
in it, yep.
Shino is in it. I know Charlotte and Jonathan are in it from Portrait of Ruin.
Some of the DLC they
probably added them in.
Yep. Well, they might have added him in 8-Bit Simon. I always thought that was
That's
cool.
right. And then the character from, I think, Getsu Fumiden is also in it, too. He was downloadable.
I may not have gotten that one,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Because I didn't recognize it.
Well, now you have an excuse to go play it again. I remember playing the demo and really enjoying it, but I was terrible at it because I took my time.
Right.
Because I wanted to explore all the, like, treasure chests that you would find and stuff, so I just kept dying. I just played the demo over and over and over and just kept dying, and I was like, do I really want to play this? I don't really have anybody to play it with, so now I do, apparently. Yeah, very cool. I was digging this track. It's just balls to the wall, heavy metal, done in Castlevania style, so that's right up my alley, for sure.
How about these 55.5 million composers?
Alright, so now's a pretty good time to talk about Mishiro Yamane, pretty much known as the Castlevania composer.
Yes.
Most of the credits that she has is Castlevania, but she did start off with a non-Castlevania game, Risa no Yosei Densetsu, in 1988. Followed up with Motocross Maniacs in 1989, the Game Boy game, which I had no idea that was her, so now I gotta go get that game. Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, the arcade game, in 92. And her other major hits, stuff like Harmony of Dissonance, Lament of Innocence, Dracula X Chronicles, where she's credited as arranger and composer, Order of Ecclesia, which is one of my favorites, and her latest game is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Of course.
Yes. 2018 was released last year, but then Bloodstained Ritual of the Night released this year.
That's the one.
That's the Castlevania spiritual successor. So, Takashi Yoshida, Ultima Underworld was their first game. They started off with the Stygian Abyss in 1997 as voice talent. Composition-wise, they started off with Aria of Sorrow in 2003, so working with Mishiro Yamane on that one. Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, they were the audio lead and audio design on that one. Pretty much just jumped ship from Konami to Tecmo, doing work for games like Deception 4 The Nightmare Princess in 2015 on PS4, Dynasty Warriors 8 Empire in 2015. Their last game they were credited for was Tales of Vesperia, the definitive edition, which came out in 2019. So they were the executive producer on that one.
Nice.
And finally, Sashiro Hokai started off with Nagano Winter Olympics 98 and Suikoden 2, Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, Aria of Sorrow, Nano Breaker in 2005. That was a Koji Igarashi produced game as well. And their last game is Chibi Robo Ziplash for Nintendo.
Nice.
Yeah. We're going to do one game each composer. Tomoaki Hirono, Suikoden Tear Cries, Norikazu Miura, Firefighter FD 18 2004, Atsushi Sato. Let's do Star Ocean The Last Hope International version. They did voice recording staff on that. Nobuyuki Akina worked on Hybrid Heaven in 1999, the N64 game. Yasuhisa Ito worked on Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots as his sound editor. Sota Fujimori worked on Contra Shattered Soldier. Yasuhiro Ichihashi worked on Lunar Nights in 2006. Toshihisa Furukawa worked on Tomina Sana in 2009 as the sound director. So that's the composers and arrangers on that one. We didn't want to get too much more in depth because we already spent way too much time on this.
Yes.
All right, what's next?
So next up is a track from Castlevania Judgment, a game that we talked about earlier. Came out on the Wii in 2009. This track is called Clockwork. And as before, it was directed by Hideki Sakamoto, and the track was by Yasushi Asada.
You're listening to XVGM Radio, where the bits just keep coming.
Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was another Castlevania Judgment track, which was from the Wii in 2009. The track was called Clockwork, and it was directed by Hideki Sakamoto, and the track was by Yasushi Asada.
You got it. So we already talked about the composers, so we don't need to talk about that. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the track?
I kind of like this one a little bit more than the intro track that we came in on, mostly because it kind of sticks to one thing and does it really well. Mm-hmm. Like there are no like electric guitars or anything crazy in this. Mm-hmm. It's just really bombastic. It reminds me a bit of like music you would hear in Soul Calibur.
Okay, I can see that.
I feel like that's what I was sort of thinking originally when I was talking about the intro, but the guitars kind of threw it off.
Yeah.
Sent me into a different fighting game. So now, solidly in the realm of almost Soul Calibur-esque, very, very much more like solid Baroque. You got the harpsichords. There was a lot that I was enjoying with the strings in my left ear, think it went all over, but when the strings were very prominent, I was only hearing them on the left side, which was really cool use of the stereo.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of choral arrangement too in there, the choir,
some, vocals.
Yeah, which was kind of a nice touch to it. But yeah, you said it best. Definitely Baroque era, which is just awesome. Yep. I was really, really digging this version of the Clock Tower song.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I happen to like the Clock Tower themes from some of the Castlevania games, so this one just kind of right up my alley already.
Yeah, definitely. So, since we already talked about the composers, let's play Dress Up. Let's go ahead and pick your 3 favorite costumes with the characters. Pick your 3 favorite characters from the redesign that the Death Note artist did, and then pick your 3 least favorite. Listeners / players at home of this game, you can look online. Destructoid has a good photo with almost all the characters. It's missing Golem.
Yes. All right, so taking a look at this, I'd say it's pretty evenly distributed on what I like and what I don't like. And there's
Let's go with what you like first.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, Sifa, I really like her outfit and the look that they gave her. Shinoa, I feel like it's practically spot on to what I would imagine her to be wearing from the DS game.
Yeah, I could see that. I actually think that hers is an improvement.
I'm really, really big on Alucard. I do like his sort of redesign. It's not as outrageous as some of the other ones. But yeah, so I also do like Eric's design, but my top 3 are Sypha, Shinoa, and Alucard.
Okay.
What are your top 3?
My top 3, I would say Cornell. I think they nailed Cornell. He's got these really sharp talons, and it looks really awesome. So I would definitely say Cornell. Second, I would say I really kind of dig what they did with Trevor. I really kind of like the idea of the eye patch. I think it'd be cool because it's a little bit of a backstory. What happened to his eye? Nobody knows. Why does he have an eye patch? So I thought that his was pretty faithful. He's got the boots, the big strapping vampire killer boots.
Yep.
And he just looks really powerful and really masculine. And then 3, I was very torn between Sypha and Carmilla. I got to go with Carmilla. Yeah, she's super hot in this one. So
kind of got a little bit of Bayonetta feel to her.
A little bit of Bayonetta, very elongated legs, super tall, with super long legs, and then has those limbs that kind of move like Bayonetta. So
yeah,
digital giblets and whatnot. So yeah. So now your least 3 favorite, or the ones you don't like.
So I don't like what they did with Simon.
Okay.
He is the character that is on the box art, and I actually didn't realize this until Mike and I had a quick conversation about it, because I was like, who's the Yagami light-looking guy on the box art? He's like, that's Simon. Oh.
Whoops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but man, that's not how I pictured Simon to be.
Yeah.
And I really don't like Death's design. I think he looks way too weird.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm definitely coming from a very traditional cloak, scythe, flying, no legs,
no
whatever.
legs.
And this is just it just looks so weird.
He does look weird.
I don't like Trevor's design that much.
No.
Way too strappy, way too belty, way too... Simon looks kind of S&M, but I feel like Trevor looks a lot more S&M.
Yeah.
He's just ready to be strapped to a cross and tickled.
Yeah, I got you. My least favorite, I'm going to go Dracula. Next, I'm going to go with Alucard. The third, I really don't like Death, but I'm actually going to say Eric Lecard. I really don't like the fact that they first de-aged him. There's no reason to de-age him. He's normally an adult, and we don't even really have any good character art for the main game. For Bloodlines, there's not that much stellar art of Eric Lecard.
So I think we spent enough time talking on this because Janine is signaling us to... Oh, she's not telling us to shut up. She's telling us that we have a call.
Oh, okay. Could have sworn it was the other way around.
I mean, I wouldn't blame her. Go ahead and send that over.
All right, caller, you are on the air with XVGM Radio on our Castlevania Oddity special. What can we play for you?
Hey, yo, it's DJ Track 9000. I'm coming at you with the tunes that you need to play.
I'm sorry, I don't think I've ever heard of you.
Yeah, well, Romanian DJs not exactly going to be very heavily publicized for you American folk. But listen, you need to play this track. It's a good song. It's my jam. I call this one Bites and Bits. Go ahead and play it, y'all. Dracula out.
Okay. I'm not gonna play that.
No, I don't know that I like the sound of this, and this is for Castlevania Oddities, so...
Yeah. Nope. Sorry.
You got something you want to throw in instead?
Yeah, actually. I'm a big fan of this track. It's from Beatmania 2DX. It came out on the PlayStation 1 and the arcade in 1999. This is Bloody Tears 2DX edition, and it's arranged by DJ Yoshitaka, originally by Kenichi Matsubara. Hey, you are back, and that jam was from Beatmania 2DX that came out on the PlayStation 1 and the arcade in 1999. That was Bloody Tears 2DX edition, and it was arranged by DJ Yoshitaka. It's based on the original Bloody Tears version by Kenichi Matsubara.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
That's... Wow.
What a bumping track.
Seriously. That's a track that I would love to have seen on like a Stepmania or DDR type of game. Like I know that this came from Beatmania 2DX, but I just... Why is there no Castlevania music in any of the DDR games, man?
Well, actually, technically there is.
Was there?
There's one track called Abyss, and Abyss is very heavily Bloody Tears inspired, if I recall.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes the melody of Bloody Tears and like twists it quite a bit, but it's there. Like you can very clearly hear that it's from Castlevania 2. So.
Oh, good. I guess I just never saw that one, or I may have. I may have passed over because I didn't recognize the name or something.
Yeah, I think it was on DDR Max 2. So I'm not that familiar with Beatmania, but I did watch somebody play this online. This track specifically. Wow, it's crazy. Like all the buttons you gotta press. So Beatmania is like the DJ kind of thing where you're like pressing all the switches like on the box, and then you've got to like
little turntable.
Do the like turntable for the record scratching and everything. It's pretty cool to watch people play it, but
especially when they're good at it. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the person I was watching play was just amazing. I mean, the melody is what it went with. So that da 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 da, it went with that. So yeah, crazy. But I could easily see it going with something else, like maybe the rhythm section, or maybe kind of splitting off to do work with the drums or whatever. Like I could see that.
Yeah. No, usually they bounce around between the different things, especially when like the melody kind of falls back.
Yeah.
Then you're doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just those games are very, very fast paced. I could probably play it on like easy or something.
Oh, for sure.
With enough practice, work my way up. But
yeah,
I
just like DDR.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you end up like memorizing the songs, and you start memorizing the patterns better, and you'll want to like keep playing the game over and over and over again. That's
Exactly.
just, you know how rhythm games work.
That's how I learned to play one or two DDR songs backwards without looking at the screen.
What? Seriously?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I can't do it anymore. I don't even remember what the songs were.
Sure.
But, there was a point where I was playing it so much that I was like, I can do this backward.
Wow, that's nuts.
But yeah, this whole thing, just like I really like the synthy feel to it. It had a very like Eurobeat dance feel, and that's one of the reasons that I wish it was in DDR.
So, DJ Yoshitaka is also called Yoshitaka Nishimura. That's his full name. He has mostly done Beatmania stuff. So Beatmania 2DX 12, 11, 13, 14, and 15, pretty much from 2006 to 2008.
Wow.
Yeah. They've also done some work on some other games, but mostly in the art and graphics department.
Gotcha.
Too. Sort of like 3D modeling and character modeling. So, yeah.
And then we know all about Kenichi.
Yep, absolutely. So, I don't know. This is one of my favorite, like, arranged versions of Bloody Tears.
Understandable.
I absolutely love, like, this, like, totally, I don't even know what you would call this, like, acid house.
I have no idea what I'd call it
acid
either.
trance.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe trance, I'd say. More like techno trance.
Maybe.
It's somewhere in that department.
It's definitely of the techno genres.
Yes. So, speaking of techno, I guess we should move into our next track.
Yeah, so my last pick of this episode is going to be a sort of remix. It's tagged as a remix, but it is from a game. This is from Contra Hardcore on the Genesis in 1994, and the track is called Simon 1994 RD. So the original track was composed by Kinuyo Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maezawa, and this remix was done by Michiru Yamane. Welcome back. That was Simon 1994 RD, which was a track on Contra Hardcore, which came out in the Genesis in 1994. The original was composed by Kinuyo Yamashita, Satoe Terashima, and Hidenori Maezawa, and this remix was brought to us by Michiru Yamane.
So this track is fantastic. What a banger.
God. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I actually found this while searching on my own, then I posted and you were like, that's such a good track. Was this one that you were planning on picking originally, and then you were like, no, I'm going to pick something else?
I was like, we gotta pick this. Like, one way or the other. Either I'm picking it or you're picking it.
Okay.
So this takes place in this game.
It's a secret stage.
It's a secret stage or a secret boss, and you're playing against like a robotic version of Simon, but he's got like an afro and a like handlebar mustache, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty weird, but he's got the vampire killer and he's whipping up a storm.
Yeah, the title of the track, Simon 1994 RD.
Right.
Simon, obviously, because of Castlevania. 1994 was the year of release for this game,
Delicious. Yeah, no, I really dig this track. I don't even know what... Would this be, like, Gabber? I don't...
Maybe. I'm assuming you're referring to, like, the style of how they sped up the song and everything. It almost made me feel like Happy Hardcore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Happy Hardcore is a little bit more like... Every time I listen to Happy Hardcore, it sounds like, what if you took Eurodance and then, like, gave it ecstasy? That's kind of the vibe that I get. Like, what would happen if Happy Hardcore was way more happy?
Yeah, that makes sense. They both came out of a similar era and a similar region. Happy Hardcore came out of the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Germany in the early 1900s. Yeah. And Gabber, as you were saying, came out of sort of the Eastern European area also in the early 90s. So about the same time.
Okay.
There's probably some bleed between them.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, what I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of Square Pusher. Square Pusher is an artist that came out with an album, has come out with a lot of stuff, but they're an electronic artist. And they did this one album called, I think it's called Hard Normal Daddy, and it is, it's a really great album if you like electronic music. It's really, really good, but it has this one track that sounds like somebody just yammering, kind of, like da-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then this, like, siren comes in, it's just like, wee, and then you just hear, like, and then you get like the drums that are like boom, they're like crazy drums. It's a really, really good album. I know I'm like just making noises and nonsense, but like if you like electronic music, go check that album out. Like it's really good.
I just pulled that up. I'm gonna have to take a look at that.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good stuff. So when I heard this track for the first time, I was like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Hard Normal Daddy, like that album. So that song in particular. So. Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Maybe Hard Normal Daddy was inspired by this, because this came out in 1994, and Hard Normal Daddy came out in 1996, 97.
Wow, was it really that early? I thought it was... See, it's weird, because a lot of the electronic music that I was learning about was early to mid-2000s.
Yeah.
You know, I was DJing at a radio station, and I was just, like, checking out, like, you know, all this different music that the girl that I was dating at the time was listening to, and it was all like crazy electronic stuff and like 80s new wave, and a mutual friend of ours, our buddy Brian, was super into like synth pop, so I got into synth pop, and you know, just kind of took over from that point, just like, let me find all the electronic music ever. So yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. So this is probably one of the better Contra games out there. I mean, I think they're all pretty much great, except for like maybe Contra Force.
I've played a few here and there, and I don't know, I never really got much into them, but looking back on a lot of stuff that I missed out on, particularly this game on the Genesis, I like to go back and play it at some point.
Yeah, this one's cool because it has different paths that you can take, like branching paths. You'll be faced with a dilemma, like, do I go after this villain who I'm chasing, or instead do I like try to save these people in this facility? It's really cool. I haven't gotten very far in it. I maybe got like 3-4 stages in. I recommend to anyone that wants to play this, there is a repro cart out there that somebody made that combines the best of both worlds. So it takes the Japanese cart, which has like a life bar, and
that's right.
Yeah, so it's not one hit kill. That was intentionally made harder for US audiences.
Wasn't it because like somebody complained about something stupid?
Yeah, like, just how it goes. I mean, people want Contra to be like one hit death, and to me that's just kind of repetitive, because then you're just playing the same part over and over and over again. I get it. I mean, Contra Shattered Soldier is my favorite Contra, and I love that game to pieces, and that does one hit kill pretty much. But I'm of the mindset that like I'd rather beat a game and finish it than have to claw my way through it, you know, as it stands. So to me, playing the Japanese version is much easier. Yes, you get a life bar, you get more lives. The Contra code's back in, or the Konami codes, you get more lives, and it's just an easier game. The bad guys don't take off as much damage when they hit you, so it's a pretty cool port. But what somebody did was they made a repro of that, and they put the English translation in it too. Right. So you get the best of both worlds. I'm not sure where that came from. I'll have to see if I can find a link for it and post it somewhere on one of our social medias. So.
Yeah.
So we talked about Mishiro Yamane, we talked about the other composers, so we're good to go.
We did. We are all set.
Ready to rock into our final track. So I picked a track from Akumajo Special Boku Dracula-kun, also known as Kid Dracula on the Famicom. This came out in 1990. This track is called Disappearing at Tiffany's. Yep. I don't know why it's called that, but it's stages 5 and 8, and it's by Shinji Tasaka and Satoko Miname. Welcome back to our final track. That was Akumajo Special Boku Dracula-kun, Kid Dracula, and it came out on the Famicom in 1990. That is Disappearing at Tiffany's, and that was stages 5 and 8. It's by Shinji Tasaka and Satoko Minami. All I can think of
is that song
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
And I said, what about Disappearing at Tiffany's? She said, I
think. You know.
Yeah, there was no film.
Yeah, no.
This song makes me think that this game is set in like the 1930s, and Kid Dracula is a hard-boiled detective wearing a fedora. Like it feels like some kind of a mystery detective-y type thing.
I see what you're putting out there, and I totally agree with you.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I get like hard-boiled detective. I get jazz.
Yep.
I get Kid Dracula sitting on a piano stool, playing this song on piano.
Yeah. It's a funny image in my head.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's nothing close to what's on the game.
No, these Kid Dracula games are side stories to the main Castlevania franchise, and you're going up against a demon named Galamoth, who is in some future Castlevania games like Symphony of the Night. I think he plays like a giant character in Symphony of the Night, whereas in this, he's a little bit more cutesy looking. He's like a greenish monster, like a dinosaur monster looking.
Galamoth is also in Judgment. Galamoth is the Lord of Space.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's originally from the Kid Dracula series.
Yeah. You're right. Yep. When you're right. So, yeah, there were 2 games in this series. A lot of people think that the Famicom version is just like a re-skinned version of the Game Boy version, or vice versa. It's not. This version, I believe, is the... It's a little confusing because Kid Dracula was released on the Game Boy in 1993, and this game came out in 1990.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say the Game Boy game is both a remake and a sequel to the game, because technically I think the plots are slightly different.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah, the Game Boy game is like a sequel to the events. His name is Garamoth in the US version, I believe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so he returns to try to take on Kid Dracula, but Kid Dracula would like learn these spells throughout the game that you can get. You can get like these different spells and stuff, and they do different things. So in the Game Boy game, you're going back and like getting all these spells again. So these games are like fun little platformers, but they're also really difficult. Like at first you're kind of taking it a little easy in the game. It's like easier, and then like as you get further in the game, it gets really difficult in both the Game Boy and the NES, like, or the Famicom version. So yeah, definitely some really cool gameplay though. You know, you're going through and you have like this bat boomerang type power that you have that you throw at bad guys, and then you can get all these like different power-ups and stuff that you can use throughout the game. It's pretty cool.
Sounds pretty neat.
Yeah.
I have to take a look at this one.
Yeah, it's definitely worth playing. If you have the Castlevania collection, it's translated for the first time in English on the Castlevania collection.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
We'll grab that.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know why it's called Disappearing at Tiffany's. I don't remember. I haven't gotten this far in this game.
You haven't gotten to stage 5?
No, and I think it's stage 8 is the Sky stage, or it's also called the Sky stage as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Shinji Tasaka started off with Vulcan Venture in 1988, followed it up with Snatcher as the voice editor, and then Kit and Caboodle in 1988.
Oh.
They also did sound direction on a Ninja Turtles game, I believe that's the arcade game, and then worked on some Ganbare Goemon stuff. Tiny Toon Adventures Buster's Hidden Treasure, Ganbare Goemon Gaiden Kieta Ogun Kisuru in 1990 was Satoko Miname's first game. Followed that up with YY World 2, which we talked about a little earlier, and then Tiny Toon Adventures in 91, and The Lone Ranger in 91. So not that much for either of these two, but yes, good music, good tunes, good game. So that brings us to the end of our Castlevania Oddities episode. We hope you enjoyed it.
Sort of like a Castlevania Oddities Odyssey.
Yes, if you will. So let us know what you thought of the tracks and what your favorite was at this point in the time of the show. We like to pick our favorites. So Justin, you go first. What was your favorite?
So we've had a lot of really good stuff, but nothing has topped that Castlevania the Arcade track for me.
Really?
Yeah, things have come close. Simon 1994 RD is a very, very close second, but that's just I was very surprised by the Castlevania, the arcade track, as it was, and I don't know, nothing has impressed me more than that track has.
I've heard all of these tracks.
I would assume.
Like for years, but the one that I never heard, which really surprised me, was Poppin' Music 15 Adventure. That first track that we played right after the Castlevania Judgment intro. I thought that the medley was really well done, and I just thought it was really cool. It was definitely different, and it was nice to hear like some newer stuff from like Lament of Innocence kind of mixed in with the like classic stuff like Vampire Killer. So that, I think, was your pick, and that does it for me.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Alex Messenger, Scott McElhone, Cam Wormup, Chris Murray, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Jordan and Anson Davis, Chris Myers, Jeremy Rutz, Peter Panda, Bedroth, Brad Austin, and the Autistic Gamer 89. If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGM Radio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
And if you'd like what you've heard, please consider giving us a rating on iTunes and a review.
You can also join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at www.facebook.com/groups/XVGM Radio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks, or just talking about the podcast itself.
And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle for both of those sites is @XVGM Radio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, coming up next episode. What do you think, Justin? What do you think it could be? It's the end of October.
It's the end of October, right around that Halloween holiday.
Yes.
I think we are doing a Hanukkah episode. No, it's
Spooky Fest. Yes.
2019.
2019. We will be bringing you some amazing tracks from Spooky Spooks.
Spooky Spooks.
Spooky Spooks.
Spooky games, spooky levels, spooky tunes.
Spooky Dukes.
Oh, I don't think we can say that legally. But yes.
It's going to be
great, just like last year. Hopefully we'll see some of the fans.
Yeah, some friendly faces. Get some Patreon requests.
Yeah.
It's going to be good times. Grab your candy corn and
follow us in 2 weeks. Yes.
Follow us down the road for 2 weeks for Spooky Fest. So this is Mike
and Justin
signing off for XVGM Radio.
This is from, and I will fight you over this. I'm going to say it right. This is from Contra, yes. This is from Contra Hardcore on the Genesis in 1994. Simon, 1994 RD, which came out, which was a track on Hunter. Why? Mouth, voice, everything.
Takashi Yoshida started off doing work on Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss.
Yo, bish.
What's this? Starting off working.
Yeah. Like, is it spelled weird? What the heck?
Yeah. Dr. Cinnamon created Rickle to stop bad things from happening. So,
yeah. I'm sorry. Every time I see the name Rickle, all I can think of is Pickle Rick from Rick and Morty, and it's.
See, all I can think of is like Rickle, like
Rickroll,
like Rickroll, or like Rocky Road ice cream. I don't know why that's popping up. Maybe I just really want Rocky Road.
Maybe
ice
you
cream.
want Rocky Road ice cream with a pickle.
Ugh. No, gross.
I don't know. Like, there's too much pickle in Rickle for me not to think.
There's too much Rickle and pickle.
Well, I mean, that's your fault.
Get your dickle out of the pickle.
Okay. Too far.
You're being a prickle.
Here you go. Get your chocolate on my peanut butter.
Gross. Anyways, so XVGM Radio is proud to present Spooky Fest 2019.
Ever wanted to listen to a music festival you can't actually attend?
Ever thought, hey, this drink is cold, the jams are great, but I just hate going outside?
Boy, have we got a solution for you.
Spooky Fest 2019.
With performances by some of your favorite video game composers.
And some you haven't heard of.
So tune in on October 30th on All Hallows Eve for
Spooky Fest 2019.